Welcome back to Newsmaker Live. I am Clinton Reynolds. I'm here with Wilfred Pierre, the first Vice President of the Civil Service Association, and of course, the President, Mary Isaac. We're discussing this anomaly that has been created as a result of unions accepting the 4%. We were speaking earlier this week, and you were saying that there are certain unions that could not be part of the TUF because of their composition and because of the statutes that govern their operation, like the police. Do you wish to elaborate, explain why police cannot be part of the TUF, because in your mind?
Yeah. Well, as they are not just essential services; they are protective services. Mm-hmm. And as far as I know, people in the protective services are not allowed to join a union outside of the Police Welfare Association.
And it's also in the ILO Convention on Collective Bargaining that they should not, it doesn't accept them as being in the bargaining unit.
That's right.
So is it only police, or is it police,
it's protective services.
Protective services.
So correction officers
yeah, I believe
as
so,
well.
yes.
Now we have that clip with the minister. Let's take a listen to it, just for those of you who missed it earlier in the week, to bring some context into our discussion. The minister indicating that those who are not willing to accept the 4% increase from government need to write to their respective permanent secretaries.
Cabinet has agreed that any civil servant not wishing to have the 4% salary increase and the accrued difference applied to their salary for the 2010 to 2013 triennium should write to their respective permanent secretary, who is the accounting officer for the agency, copied to the accountant general, indicating that they do not wish to accept the salary increase. This letter or memo should be sent to the permanent secretary before the 31st of May 2013, that is before the end of this month, to allow for the necessary salary changes to be made by the Treasury Department. All other civil servants, that is those who do not write to their permanent secretary and copy to the accountant general indicating that they do not wish to accept the 4% increase, all of these officers will be paid their salary increase in their June salaries. Cabinet also thought long and hard on the issue of salary deductions from those civil servants who opted to take strike action for the payment of the 9.5% wage increase. Cabinet held firm on the right of the employer not to pay workers for work not done. However, as a show of good faith to close this chapter and move forward with the important task of developing our country and providing greater opportunities for all citizens of St. Lucia, Cabinet decided not to make any deductions from the salaries of those civil servants who were absent from work on strike action. Cabinet did agree, however, that in the future it would apply the principle of no work, no pay.
Two very important and tough decisions or strong statements there. One, that if you don't want the increase, tell us that directly. Also, next time you go on strike, or if you even think of going on strike, then your pay will be docked.
So that's a threat right there.
What are your impressions?
That's a threat right there.
Well, clearly, I'm getting the impression that Cabinet has a no work, no pay whip in the Cabinet waiting for when we... I cannot understand why in this situation would you be talking about that kind of thing. If you have a situation where there is an anomaly, you come to us and you say, well, look, this is what it is. And from what Dr. Fletcher mentioned, that's not collective bargaining. This is individual bargaining. And this goes contrary to ILO Convention 1998, which St. Lucia ratified in May 14th, 1980. Mm-hmm. So it goes contrary to that.
Now, let me add, though, that any right-thinking minister of public service who really care about their workers would take objection to that cabinet decision. But for you to agree to it and actually come in public and let the workers know and have not even responded to the union, to me that is totally unacceptable. It is immoral. And in any other country where the people know their rights and so on and so forth, you would find that people would be calling for the minister's resignation. And this is not the first time that has happened, that we see something in the media before it comes to the workers. The same thing with the merger of GIS and Radios and RSL and so on. We saw a little thing whispered or something like that, and I saw this coming. And I was perplexed to see that the minister is throwing that out to the public before the workers even hear or know anything about it.
Now we
you're didn't know
hinting at
anything
that.
about this.
Is the CSA therefore calling for the minister to resign over what he has said?
Well, the minister should take it on his own to do so, because and even his cabinet colleagues should be finding something wrong with what he has done. You understand? This is totally wrong. It's unacceptable.
But
It is
Clinton,
immoral.
why are you going to talk
And-
about a
and-
no work, no pay in that kind of situation? I mean, even though that is so, but why would you want to mention that? Is that a threat to our members, to keep them in check? You know, I mean, what our members did, there's a right to go on strike. It is a right. It is a right that you have to do that. You know, and if we do that, people should not get upset about that. But there are ways, there are processes in which that can be dealt with.
But isn't it also a right of the employer to hold back pay for work not done?
Well, it can be their right. It can be their right.
It is an option for them.
But it's the way how you do it, the way how you
do it or choose not to do it. But when people do not go on strike for no reason. Okay, people are caused to go on strike. There's a reason why the workers went on strike, right? The employer said, I cannot negotiate with you. You are under the TUF, and it is TUF that I know. But yet still, that same employer had already negotiated with the police on the one hand. You understand? So, you see what we're saying? All of those things were caused by the employer, not following the process.
Now, going back to that clip that we just saw with the minister, isn't that a further indication to you, if not before, that the CSA is in a weakened position? Or am I just seeing things differently, where the employer can think, you know, that he can have workers come up and sign up individually, and the CSA is not empowered enough, or does not, it's so broken because of what has happened over the last few weeks, that there is nothing, no recourse that the CSA can take.
But clearly, have you heard the Prime Minister mention anything on that issue?
Well,
he has not.
I've heard him speak about, you know, the payment of the 4% and $28 million, you know, in back pay, and the increase in the salaries for
that's
public
correct.
servants.
But not in that manner, not in that manner in which the Minister of the Public Service spoke about. You know, I don't think the Prime Minister would have mentioned it in that way, because the Prime Minister is quite aware of ILO Convention 1998, which was ratified in May the 14th, 1980, which talks about collective, not individual bargaining.
We have a caller on the line. Let's take this first caller. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead.
Clinton, how are you?
Very good.
Hi, Mary, Mr. Pierre.
Yes,
Hello.
good night.
I will permit me to identify myself. I am Martin James.
Yes.
I'm the President of the Police Welfare Association and the Chief Negotiator for Police.
Good night, Martin.
Good night, sir. Good
Okay,
night,
good
panel.
night. I'm listening to the program. I'm hearing you all and trying to understand some things that are going on. Now, I could tell you, in recent past, the police have gotten a lot of blame. I don't want to derail anything that's happening there. I mean, it's it's your show. I don't want to derail anything. But I need you to take things by its merit, and I need you all to set the record straight. I need you all to stop saying, please, that the government took the police on a side and negotiated with police. The process was very simple. Every union and association had the opportunity to present to the employer their proposal for negotiations for the triennium 2010-2013. The police did that on the 29th of October 2010 and have sought to negotiate with the employer through the negotiating team to get to some resolve and settlement to that. We sat at meetings with the TUF and everything, and you know very well everything that went on. What we did, we asked that our allowances be looked at, because that was the norm. This is how it was done. A decision was taken to suspend negotiating allowances and go for salaries. We went for salaries. When we realized what had taken place, the decision at the TUF or at among the unions will let us go back to our negotiations. Let us go back to allowances and those benefits. We did just that. And I have heard repeatedly Mary, I'm telling you, we talk. I have heard repeatedly that the police was pulled aside and it was done. The police negotiated allowances and those benefits separately like every other union does. And the 4% was on the table. It was done in a collective manner. So at the end of the day, I really need you to take things by its merit and say exactly what is going on. Because don't forget, I sat at those meetings. And I, for one, have called for one TUF meeting on countless occasions. So every union member, every association member would get the same information at the same time from the same set of people.
So are you saying, Martin, therefore, that some of the information, and if there is information that is not coming from the representatives of the CSA, that is not that is not something that took place, correct, yeah, that is skewed? Can you set the record straight on that?
No, I will not do it in that forum. You know what? I will not do it in that forum.
Well, okay. I mean, you're calling the challenge.
No, let me tell you what I will do. You know what I'm recommending? I know the TUF and all the unions, there must be some sort of post-mortem that must be done. I am looking forward to that because I could tell you, all the time persons have misrepresented in most instances when they speak about what has transpired with the police.
Are you saying that the CSA is misrepresenting what transpired?
Yes, some of it.
But Martin,
some of it.
Yeah, Martin, I quite agree with you. I mean, the way how we put it, I can understand how you can feel that way, and we have never had any issue with you and your members.
But this is why I need you to stop saying that the government pulled police, because listen to me, it was said to me personally, it has been said on the media, so, nobody pulled no police aside.
Am I getting this straight here that the CSA is admitting to misrepresenting some of the information?
You just did it from Mr. Pierre.
I think the way how we said it.
Okay, let me just say, because of the way
Martin, thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you very much.
Nobody should stay on. Because of the way Martin is putting it, it is true that at the point where they pulled out. Well, I don't even know if he wants to say pulled out. I don't know how to say it. But I'm going to try. When we reached that 4%, police decided to take the 4%, right? You saw it in the media, okay? So let us say that police decided to take the 4% and government agreed to sign off with police, okay? So I think Martin would prefer to hear that. Government agreed to sign off. Police signed off with government, we were told, weeks before anybody else, while we were still negotiating with TUF. So that's the point we are bringing across.
We have another caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead.
Mary and Douglas.
Yes. Caller, please.
Yeah. You there?
I'm there. Please go ahead.
Okay. I think Martin is really pulling up some kind of game or something like that. Martin knows very well that he was offered a cut to have his members go this way. Thank you very much.
Well, I mean, let me interject here. I mean, this contribution and the CSA representatives have just said that some of the information may not have come across as they would have intended, you know, and I respect the fact that the president of the Police Welfare Association has indicated that he would not use this forum, but he would go to the TUF to discuss some of the issues that have arisen. We have another call. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Go ahead with your question, caller.
Mazai Pali Anke
Okay.
Now, see, no work, no pay. Kumanye, leba ikali wrong, amun kaisa dubutu right you. Because people need right you. Aba ikali wrong at you. They are strike too many right. So Kimana was in no right, no work, no pay. Est-ce qu'il y a une conversation qui est bonne?
Well, conversation ça pas bon, mais si tout monde dou bout ensemble, moun n'a pas kay ça dou no work no pay, puisque là tout monde dou bout ensemble et yo pas pay ou tout monde ka just continue dou bout espérer yo pay yo, comprendre? Et moi ni l'idée la tenir strike qui t'est passé comme ça hein. Et le strike la t'est 50 fini, yo ten pour payer tout le monde.
Police point ça avancer, yo qui sous ça.
Non, parce que
well, nous pas
non.
Well, police
pas aller bien, regardez ça.
Non.
Wasko hose, il hose pas combien %, il va hose pas 4%. tout ça qui a haussé pas combien pourcent, il a haussé pas fort. Et tout ça, les pour yo bailler mon 4 sous, c'est for free, zero not. Hein? Qui garde bailler ça dans pays.
OK, merci.
C'est la jazz of
Merci beaucoup.
C'est la jazz.
Oui.
Ah ouais.
OK, merci.
But Clinton, clearly, I mean, we don't want this thing to be an attack on the police. We have had a very good relationship with the police all through, and even now we have had that relation, and we understand the position they take. And I've always said that. I've always said the police came out better than anybody in this whole thing.
Is it because they were the most prepared among the unions? And I'll answer that after we take this call. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead.
Good night.
Good night.
Good
I
night.
feel it's time for that nonsense to rest, and we all have to go and pray to God and look for better things to happen in St. Lucia. Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, caller.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the question, were the police better prepared than the other unions in the negotiations?
I think they benefited more because, like you heard them say so many times, they got a benefit that was never on the table, and they got it to be placed on the table, and they got it across the board.
Is it because that they were better prepared that they received those better benefits?
Well, I do not know if they were better prepared. I know that they did their business and then they signed off at the point where I believe they were contented to sign off. Okay, so maybe if we put it that way, it will probably look better.
But they were prepared. I don't want us to just leave and say the police were not prepared. They were prepared. I understand some of the things that they were doing. And I mean, the way how they conducted the negotiations. I mean, we were always with them. We had discussions with them. And in fact, our closer relationship in terms of the union was really with the police. You know?
But what I want to say, Clinton, is that government knowing that you are going to create an anomaly, at the point where one member is saying, I am okay with that, I'm ready to sign off. You, the employer, you government, knowing that that's going to create an anomaly, to me, you should have said, hold it. We are not considering one individual union because we have agreed as government to negotiate under the TUF.
We have a call. Good evening. Please go ahead, caller.
Good evening, Clinton.
Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
My dear.
And good evening to your guest.
Good night.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead,
hi.
please. You're on the air.
I'm calling and I'm seeking clarification on 2 matters. First of all, I would like to identify the legal provision for no work, no pay. Where exactly is that provision? I'm also calling in my capacity as a former member of a past government negotiating team. Tell me if I'm right. It is my understanding that it is within the labor code.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
It is also my understanding that the labor code refers mainly to non-public, non-government workers.
You're correct.
You're correct. You're
And
correct.
it is only the provision of the
Health and
health
safety,
and
right.
safety
That's
matters.
correct. Yes.
which apply to public servants.
That's
correct.
right. You're
That's
correct.
So please, at the time we were negotiating, we could not have referred any legal matter within the context of the labor code. So first, is there any other legislation?
Not as far as
So
I
that's
know.
number one. Just wait. Number two, it is my understanding that each union, trade union and association would negotiate separately with the GNT, the government negotiating team, on terms and conditions other than salaries and wages. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Right. However, there was this, I cannot recall if it was written anywhere, but there was this understanding that when it came to wages and salaries, the negotiations would be collectively
Yes, that's correct.
between the TUF and the GNT.
That's
You're
correct.
right, yes.
I fail to understand and appreciate during the recent past negotiations how the individual unions and associations therefore negotiated separately wages and salaries with the GNT. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that
She's so
contribution.
correct. She's
Thank
so
you.
Yes.
She's
Um,
correct,
Yes,
yes.
so correct.
So I don't know if you want to speak to that. The legal provision for no work, no pay, as contained in the labor code, and also the fact that unions would negotiate separately on conditions of work, but negotiate jointly on salaries. Before you respond to that, let's take this call. Good evening. Please go ahead with your contribution. Hi. Good evening, caller. Okay, we don't seem to have that caller. Yeah. So.
Okay, the caller said, and she's very, very correct about the labor code not applying that part of the labor code. It does not apply to the public service. The only thing in the labor code that applies to the public service is the health and safety part of the labor code. So as far as we know,
and is that expressly stated within the labor code?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
And as far as we know, there is no other legislation that speaks to that. This no pay, no work, no work, no pay. It is up to the employer at this point to apply some policy or something regarding that. But if you are saying you're going to be negotiating in good faith, of course the process will not break down and there will be no need for a strike. But we see in this case many different occasions where the process was not adhered to. You understand? And that is what created the need for the workers to strike, because the workers went on strike because they were told, we cannot negotiate with you as CSA. When the workers recognized that the 9.5 was still on the table and the TUF was already agreeing to a 4% with those benefits. So CSA is saying, we need to continue the negotiation. You understand? They did not accept the 6 and so on, so forth. So the 9.5 is on the table, and you are accepting 4%. So the members were saying, let us continue. And we were told, no, you cannot, because we will not negotiate with you as CSA. But then police had already concluded on their own. So this is where we're saying they created the anomaly.
We have a call on the line. Good evening, caller. Please go ahead with your question.
How are you doing?
Very good.
Yeah. Okay. I have two questions there. One, Ms. Isaac. When the minister talks about no work, no pay, is it legal or is it lawful?
We're just addressing that issue.
It is?
No, not as far as we know. I do not know if you know something else, but as far as I know, I don't see that anywhere.
Okay.
What's your second question, sir?
When the minister talk about those who do not want the 4% to write, he was saying it is because he asked, or was he saying that because he did not want to infringe on people's rights, those who did not take it? Are you saying that's also unlawful?
That is unethical.
But is it unlawful?
Right now, I cannot say whether it is unlawful or not. But what I can say right now is that it is unethical. And we are negotiating as a union with the employer, and the employer has to come back to the union, not to individual members.
Thank you, caller.
Okay, so one more question, sir.
All right, so go ahead, ask the question.
There is a problem, I think, where the CSA, where some members did not agree with some people that did not want strike. But I think the CSA made an error, because I think it was Ms. Isaac who said that when we are going on strike, well, I'm a CSA member, we are not going to shut down the country. Doesn't that give me a right as a CSA member? If you say you're not shutting down the country, that means some people should still stay at work. Am I right?
No. The people in the central service, because you see, CSA members, the statutory boards are also...
Let me flip the line as well, caller. So thanks for that. Thanks for your question.
The statutory boards are also members of CSA. We have members who are not even statutory boards, not governments. Lucilec, for instance, they are not government, but they are members of CSA. So since that was a central service issue, and we did not think it had escalated to the point where we needed to bring on board members who were not in the central service. We just allowed the other members to continue their work, and we were addressing the issue through the central service alone at that point in time.
Now, you responded to a question just before we take that call. Hold on first a second, please, caller. Yes, caller.
Okay. My question to Ms. Isaac.
Yes. Go ahead, quickly, please.
Ms. Isaac is building a house, and the workers cast the floor, and they say we're striking, and they strike for 8 weeks, and they don't do no work. Will Ms. Isaac pay the workers for the 4 weeks they strike and they do no work?
Thanks for the question, sir.
In the first instance, my workers will not have to strike because I will give them what is due to them. So they will have no reason to strike at all.
Now let's go back to the question I was asking in terms of what was raised with the ILO. You responded that you're not sure that this is illegal, what has transpired with the minister asking for individual members to submit a memo indicating that they don't want to accept the 4%. But then according to the ILO
Convention 98,
that
collective bargaining, not individual bargaining.
Right.
And I think that is
so
that's not the process.
Isn't that in breach of that convention which St. Lucia, to which St. Lucia is a signatory?
That is the most we can say for now.
That
we know it is in, and this is why we are saying such a minister should resign, because this is not the first time he has done something like that. You understand?
You're saying this is not the first time. Do you have any other?
But this is not the first time he has taken to the media, because what we're saying is he has broken down he has caused the process to break down. The minister does not have the right or the authority to go directly to members and ask them to write to anyone, not in terms of negotiations. Negotiations is between the union and the employer.
And how adamant would the CSA be that the minister resigns?
Well, the ministers do whatever they want in St. Lucia, so I mean, it is something that the Prime Minister should really take a look at. You understand? Can a minister of government do anything he wants, anytime he wants to anyone? You see what I'm saying? Because it's like a dictatorship. You come out with the news that we are going to give 4%. You don't consult the union. You don't inform the union. You don't even call the union to sit and inform the union that this is what you are going to do before you go to the members. And not only are you not responding to the union, you are actually going to the members and saying to the members, you know, come, we need you to do this and do that. You are giving them instructions. You understand? That is against every kind of collective bargaining rule you can think of.
We have a call on the line. Good evening. Go ahead with your question, please.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good night, Miss Mary Isaac.
Good night.
And how are you?
Good night. Good night.
I would like to say bravo to you for your potential, for your strong backbone. We need a savior. We need a savior to save us from the Labour Party. And you are the only person, I believe, that can save us. So, the job is on your shoulder right now.
All right, thanks for that contribution, caller. But it's
not about saving about the
I do not know if this is about the Labour Party, because you are looking at one minister of government, and sometimes we even have to go further. I remember when the Labour Party came into office in 1997, and there was a lot of talk about square pegs in round holes and square pegs in round holes. And if you look at the public service now, the state of the public service, the amount of anomalies we have in the public service, one has to question the leadership of the public service. Do these people have the right prerequisite to be running the public service? These are some of the questions that we have to ask. You understand? Because this is our public service. This is our place of work. This is the largest place of employment in St. Lucia. And if it is not being properly managed, I believe something has to be done.
We have a call on the line. Good evening. Please go ahead with your question.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
The question I think that should be asked to this lady right now is...
This is Miss Mary Isaac.
Yeah, to Mary Isaac, is if she has a business. It's not whether she will pay, whether she pays them or not. If she has a business and that business her workers don't come to work for how long, and it doesn't make any money, and they are asking for an increase, and she cannot give them that increase, when the time comes to pay them, will she pay them for the days they did not work? You understand? That's what I want to know. We want to know. Will she pay them for the days they did not work?
All right. Thanks for your question.
If they did not work, they should not get paid, right?
All right. Thanks for your question, caller.
I would like to know if she would pay them.
Go ahead.
But
okay. If, for instance, I have workers, right, and I am paying these workers a certain amount to come to do the work for me. And then all of a sudden, I increase the workers' cost to get to work or to do that job. I increase their cost. Say, for instance, I'm doing something in Bexon. They're working for me in Bexon. And all of a sudden, I said to them, they have to go to Vieux Fort to work. Right? That is increased transportation cost. So don't I have to look at that and compensate them based on the fact that they no longer have to go from Castries to Bexon as opposed to going from Castries to Vieux Fort? Government has imposed 15% VAT. The dollar that I was paying those workers 5 years ago, you think I can pay my workers 4 years ago one set of money and pay them the same set of money this year? I cannot do that. I have to look at the increase in cost. For instance, the doctors, you see they have increased from $150 to $200. Okay? The lawyers, the cost of services has increased. Everything has increased. So you cannot expect those workers to be making the same salary, the same money that you started giving them 4 years ago, when you now has increased their taxes and everything else. You have to compensate those workers. Now, if the situation is such that I cannot give them bus fare to compensate from Bexon to Vieux Fort, the workers will not come to work. They will not even continue doing that job. They'll just find something else for that matter. But public workers do not have that choice. You understand? So it is for the work for you to recognize that you have imposed additional costs on those workers and to compensate them so that they can meet the additional cost.
But Clinton, Christian principle and God principle seem to be going out of the window. People are just, I mean, even though I have I'm building a house and, for example, for whatever reason, the workers decided to strike. And I mean, I saw the merit in what they're doing. I'm not going to be spiteful, even though I didn't see the merit of it. I wouldn't be spiteful about this thing and say, well, look, you didn't work for that period. Whatever your grouse was, you're not going to be paid. I'm saying that we actually losing our Christian principle on this kind of thing.
Your argument
be like God. But God doesn't even operate that way.
But your argument presupposes that we all are Christians and we all believe in God.
That's the thing.
That's something. I mean, some people.
That's it.
Good evening, caller. Please go ahead with your question.
Yes. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yes, I want to say to the lady that just finished talking. I just arrived and I just have a little bit of what's going on. But I don't think this problem is existing right now. That's not the problem we are facing right now, where if somebody is working in Bexon and they send him to Castries, that's not what we are facing right now. Right now we are living in a time that is very dangerous. And if you have the government is borrowing money to pay public servants, it means that we have a crisis. And he's trying to deal with it. And he's trying his best. And if there is enough bread on the table, all of us will eat. But we... All right, that's all I have to say for now.
Okay, I missed that.
Hear what she has to say.
All right, thank you very much. I missed a little
We
part
missed part of it, but you see, that is the problem with everybody. At one point, we were saying we believe the government can pay, and we were adamant that the government should pay more than the 4% and so on and so forth. Then when the workers said, it seems that government really cannot pay, so we are going to take zero, and we want everybody else to make a sacrifice. There's still a problem. You see? So now I want the caller to tell us now, what is wrong with the zero? We have said we don't want anything. Give us the benefits. We would have been even happier if government had said we are going to give the people from grades 1, the people making between $900 and something dollars and $2,000, a little $175 more. You understand? That shouldn't be an issue, because now we're saying we don't want anything.
We have another call. Good evening. Please go ahead with your question.
Hi, Clinton. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Ignite.
Yeah, one thing I didn't agree the way the minister make the pronouncement, but I can understand that the minister may be in a catch-22 situation, because when I look at it, if Mr. Isaac said that there are lots of people in the service that are not members of the union, and they will be deprived of that 4% based on the collective decision of the union. How do you feel that that problem has to be addressed, because they are saying, I'm not part of the union, I'm not part of the deal, I want my 4%. And how do you feel that the government should go and address that? And because when I look at it, I say, well, if members say they want 0.000%, and I am not a member of the union, and I think there are lots of people not a member of the union, how should that affect me? I mean, that's my question to Mr. Isaac. How you feel should go on? But I feel, personally, I feel if it was supposed to be something addressed, because I don't know who signed the petition, I don't know if it's because of the non-members or if it's the members of the union. So maybe that is something that has to be clarified. Did it come from the non-members or members of the union?
All right, let me have a response to that. Thanks,
let me just clarify something about the petition. If we had to have a petition, a genuine petition, the members could petition, and then they would have to send that petition to CSA, requesting a general meeting so that they could now address the issue at the meeting. This is how it had to be done. To just be going around and taking petition from members saying they don't want or they want,
so where
that petition would not go anywhere. We don't know. It wasn't CSA, and it can only originate from the members or from CSA. And if it originates from the members, they have to send it to CSA.
We have another call. Please go ahead with your question, caller.
Hello, good night.
Good night, my dear.
I really, really want to say to Mary Isaac, I think that's her name, that certain questions are being asked there tonight, and I don't think she is actually answering the question as it's supposed to. I think she's missing out on some of the questions that are being asked. First of all, they asked her about if she had a business. That scenario came about. And she only turning it around and answering it to benefit her.
How would you respond to the question, caller, if you know a better way of answering?
What I'm saying is that they are saying that if you do not have the money and your workers are asking you to increase their salary because other stuff are increased, such as the taxes and whatnot, would you go about finding out ways and means of getting monies to pay them by taking loans, instead of telling them that you cannot pay or telling them that you can pay less than what they're asking you for? She has not addressed that question. Okay? She turned it around. The other thing I want Miss Isaac to understand is that she is saying that they're asking for 0.000. That's what the members asked for. But after all of that thing went about, a lot of the members of that CSA are saying that they want the 4%. I am in organizations with a lot of civil servants in that organization, and some of them was for it and some of them was not for it. After all of that finished, those that was not for it say they want the 4%, and those that was for it, they want now those that was not for it to now try and negotiate for them to get it, to push for them to get it, because they did not used to, they were not going to work. Now, as the government came up with that decision and they agree on the 0.0, some of them that was going to work won their 4%. So the government has no choice but to pay the 4% and pay it to who that say they want it. I see absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Neither do I. Neither do I.
We need to look at the country.
I do not see. Let me tell you something.
And not our personal benefit.
We are not saying there's anything wrong with
our personal benefit, because a
we
lot
cannot. Caller, if you're asking a question, please allow them to answer, because I have you on.
Yes, but I don't want you to cut me off.
Exactly. I usually don't cut people off, but then, if you ask her a question, please allow her to answer it, and we're running out of time. So let's get through it very quickly.
We do not have a problem with that. What we are saying is there is a process. If members of CSA want the 4% after they voted not to take the 4%, there is a process. I have never said that we want the members not to write or anything. I am saying there is a process, and when people do not follow process, they create anarchy, and this is what is happening right now. We're saying that the petition, if it came from the members, the petition had to come back to CSA so that we would have a general meeting to address that issue, where those members who now want it would have to come and vote for it. This is the process. By members just having petitions going around and just saying, and for the minister to be validating those petitions, that is immoral. This is what we are saying, because there is a process.
Final words from you, caller, because we need to wrap up shortly.
I understand that, and I agree to a certain point. But I cannot, you are saying that the minister did not write to you all. But
not to you all, to the union. Not to you all, to the union.
To the union,
right.
Yes, to the board.
To the union, not the board, the union.
But at the same time, the members that were not going to work and did not agree on the strike, they have a right to sign their petition if they want to sign their petition.
No one is disagreeing. We are not disagreeing.